10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
This is NASA TV.
You're looking at the American-made rocket and spacecraft that will return American astronauts to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since the retirement of the Space Shuttle, last flown nearly 9 years ago. Today, we're giving it another shot with our partners at SpaceX. Wednesday's first attempt was postponed due to that wild weather. But if all goes well today, we will mark a new first in NASA's storied history and usher in the commercial crew era of American spaceflight. There's astronaut Doug Hurley getting into his spacesuit, and he's being helped by one of the suit technicians there. He has flown into space 2 times before. He was the pilot on STS-127 and 135. And there's a wider shot. You can see astronaut Bob Behnken also in view now. Bob is to the right of your screen, and he also flew on 2 shuttle missions. Bob is a native of St. Anne, Missouri. And Doug is from Appalachian, New York. He was born in Endicott, considers Appalachian his hometown. We can see now NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. He's talking to the crew, and it looks like Associate Administrator Jim Morehard is also on screen.
And these are great moments to get a last chance to talk to the senior leadership of NASA as they're about to go off and launch into the cosmos. And I think when you look at how Bob and Doug complement each other and how these SpaceX suits, you know, they really complement the astronauts too, because they're more form-fitted, they're custom-made, and this is a moment where they're getting ready to, you know, do the real deal. And Lauren, I think, you know, the integration of the suit and the vehicle and these seats is just really impressive. How y'all at SpaceX did that.
Yeah, the primary purpose of the spacesuit, it's a pressure suit. Now, the Dragon capsule is already pressurized, so even in the vacuum of space, the crew is safe when inside of Dragon. But in the unlikely event of an anomaly that causes the capsule to depressurize, we can actually flow oxygen or nitrox into the suit, and that will keep the astronauts pressurized in flight. So that's its main purpose. So it's that form and function, and some style there as well.
And for the kids out there that have 3D printers or have 3D printed, the actual helmets were made by 3D printing. So you could be a spacesuit designer yourself because you already have the skill set, and or fly in space one day if you wanted to.
And we are looking at a live picture now of Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley walking down that hallway in the astronaut crew quarters. We just saw Doug wave at the screen, and they're just turning the corner, getting inside that elevator. And this, you can't see it from here, but there is a banner hanging there. You can kind of see it in the back. There's a banner hanging on the wall of the elevator with the signatures of all the people who worked on this mission. So it was really important for them to hang that up in there so Bob and Doug could see it. And there the doors are opening.
Here they come.
Great.
And there they are, NASA astronauts.
Small crowd, but big cheers.
NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, Doug on the left, Bob on the right, waving to the crowd there to cheer them on. And there are their families right in front of them.
The virtual hugs, a very special moment. Fist bumps.
Are you going to be on good behavior? Are you going to listen to mommy and make her life easy?
You can hear them.
Ready? Let's light this candle, I agree. Launch America! Bye, guys.
Now they are getting into the Tesla Model X that's going to take them to the launch pad, being strapped into their seats.
Their suit techs are attaching their umbilicals, so integrated into the Teslas. These are not just any Tesla you can just buy off the web or in a Tesla dealership. They've been outfitted with cooling units, and that white umbilical, similar to what you saw in the suit room, that umbilical is being connected to the suit to provide cooling air to the astronauts while they're on the way to the pad. And those Falcon wing doors are closing.
Super sleek.
A rapid departure from the Astro van.
Yes, I would say so.
And their flight surgeon is in the front seat in the passenger side, taking the journey along with them.
As I mentioned last time, we always think about the technology and the rockets, but this is what it's all about, the families coming together, supporting the families, us working together as a team to ensure they get up there safely and back home safely for their families.
I couldn't hear everything they were saying, but I did catch Bob telling his son to be good for mom and make her life easy. As a parent, I appreciate that.
Let's see that prominent NASA meatball.
I love seeing that group of people. I mean, we saw all those different groups of folks from NASA and SpaceX, from all different walks of life that have come together to make this happen. And that was just a small fraction of them. Look at that shot. That is so cool.
Wow. A little thumbs up from, I guess that's from Bob.
Yeah, and you know, it took a little bit of creativity to get this shot to happen. We have a chase vehicle that's on the other side of the road, which is of course shut down, so we could get a camera in there and follow them out. So we are really thankful to Kennedy Space Center Protective Forces for helping us make that happen, so we could see Bob and Doug all the way out to the launch pad.
My ride out was a little bit different than what they're experiencing in this Tesla, because we had the Astro van had bench seats on each side, and we could look across at each other as we were driving out. And it was moments where we would tell some jokes and look, but sometimes we would just look at each other, and we had such gratitude for having this opportunity to launch into space and to think about all the people helping us get in that vehicle to drive out to the launch pad, to get ready for this momentous moment. And I think that's probably, even though they're sitting, side by side, I think they're probably thinking of the gratitude and the people that have helped them get here, so that they can be on the, the pointy end of the rocket, getting a chance to go up to space. It's just a momentous moment.
And they're listening to some tunes too, I heard, right, Lauren?
Yeah. There are at least 3 songs on their playlist that are super interesting. The first is AC/DC's Back in Black. You know that one.
Yeah, well, who doesn't?
Right. Another one that they're listening to is the elevator music from the Blues Brothers film, The Girl from Ipanema. Oh, Leland.
Okay.
Got another career.
That's enough.
Career
That's
number
enough.
3.
That's right. NFL, astronaut, musician.
And of course, they are also listening to the Star Spangled Banner, the Army French Horns version.
Now, we didn't have tunes in the Astro van.
No?
And I know that the Tesla has a really kicking stereo system. Is that still the custom stereo system that's in the Tesla?
I haven't been in this one, so I don't know what they're rocking, but I'm sure it's pretty cool.
And again, just for some perspective, they left the operations and checkout building just a minute ago, and so it's about a 9-mile drive from there to the launch pad. It takes them around 20 minutes, kind of depends on how quickly they're trucking.
The other thing sometimes that you hear as you're in the convoy is the helicopter, the Huey helicopter flying overhead. And it's kind of also, you're thinking military, you're thinking really important things, and it's a moment that also kind of solidifies in you that, hey, something big is about to happen, and that boom, 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 the sound of that Huey is just in your head, and it feels good that all these people are helping you get there safely.
Yeah, I think we heard that actually coming by
We did.
this building earlier because we were talking. I was like, I hope that's what I think it is.
And it was pretty low because it was pretty loud.
You could feel it, too.
I could feel it.
I took this drive yesterday in my rental car, and granted it wasn't in a Model X, and I'm not an astronaut, but driving to 39A, that same route, and trying to put myself, like imagine myself in that headspace, it was pretty awesome. I got to figure out how to get on Falcon 9.
Lauren, we're all astronauts. We're in space.
That is true.
You just got to get on the rocket.
Yeah, well, Leland, there's a big group of people that want you there.
I think we should, listen to them.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I think we should
Maybe we should make that a poll question.
Yeah. Or we should all maybe go to space. What do you think?
I am on board. I mean, not literally right now, but I would like to be on board.
Lauren, would you go with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, poll question.
There you see the SpaceX horizontal integration facility. It's on the left of the screen now. We saw the front of it from the other angle. Or I'm sorry, no, there it is. I was getting my buildings mixed up, so it's on the right now.
Yeah,
Bigger building.
The other is the Falcon support building. It's where all of our offices are, and yes, you're correct.
Thank you for the correction, Lauren.
There's our hangar. We process Falcon Heavy in there. There are other boosters in that hangar as well. And the rocket and Dragon that is on the pad right now was put together, or rather finally integrated inside of that hangar and then rolled out to that pad to go up vertical.
And there it is. That shot really gives you a sense of the scale of the Falcon 9 rocket. Those Teslas look teeny, teeny, tiny.
Yeah, really cool watching the Teslas pull up, driving on the launch pad just a few feet away from the vehicle. This is awesome and getting really excited over here.
Of course, we saw them pull up in the Teslas, and there they are. Looks like they've already gotten out of the car, and they are walking up to the elevator that will carry them all the way up to the 255-foot level, and then they'll have a couple of steps to get up to the level where the crew access arm is.
I have the AC/DC song in my head as I see them walking up.
You know what I was kind of jamming out to on my way in was ZZ Top, Sharp Dressed Man.
Oh, nice.
I was like, I don't know, that might be on my playlist if I were in there. But there they are, taken in the sight, craning to see the top of the Falcon 9 rocket. It's 230 feet tall if you round up, and then Crew Dragon is another 27 feet from the bottom of the trunk to the top of the nose cone. So when you're out there in person, it's really hard to describe just how large it is.
Look at them getting excited. They're ready to get in the vehicle, get in the elevator, and make it to the top. There's some FOD he's picking up, foreign object debris.
Appreciate that. They're also wearing FOD covers on their shoes, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We want to make sure that they don't, track the inside of Dragon when they go in, and so right before they enter the vehicle, they'll remove the FOD covers off of their boots.
You take for granted, all just the little details like that, all of the thought and preparation that has to go into literally every single piece of this operation.
39A with the sleek black with the white ticking and the lines, and it's a very futuristic look for this iconic launch pad. And to think what's been there before with Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, shuttle, and now the SpaceX Crew Dragon getting ready for a launch to the International Space Station. Rocket fuel still going through my veins.
And we feel so honored to be able to launch from here. Oh, here they are. That's a really fast elevator.
Yeah.
I know, it really zips. That took them up to 255 feet in just a matter of seconds.
They're removing their FOD covers.
Looks like they were just maybe checking something on his boot or leg.
And we should hear a call any moment that the crew has arrived at the pad as they make their way up the stairs, and they're headed to the crew access arm now. There's the worm again, popping.
You know it.
Meatball.
Don't worry, there's a meatball on Crew Dragon.
Those white arrows you see there are essentially illuminating the way for anyone who's up there to find their way to the escape baskets in the event of an emergency that would require them to get far away from the rocket and the pad.
And it's hard to tell from this angle, but there's actually a phone right here, and I can't tell if it's Bob or Doug that's using the phone right now. But Leland, can you explain the significance of that? It's the same phone that was there during the shuttle days.
Yeah, you get a chance to talk to maybe friends or family that you haven't had maybe couldn't come to the launch. In this case, it's quite a few people, but just to have that last moment to talk to someone before you get in the vehicle. It's a beautiful view.
Intuitive to know what we need to do at any given moment in time. When I think about comfort for the astronauts, it's really every aspect of how you could interact with the spaceship that comes to mind. We have 3 different seat sizes. We even go so far as molding the foam around the astronaut's body so that there's not any pressure points, and it's just generally a pleasurable journey to space. Dragon is a spaceship that's all about safety and reliability. We designed it to be 2-fault tolerant, which means that any 2 things could fail. So I could lose a flight computer and a thruster, and I could still bring the crew back home safely. We also added a launch escape system. If anything goes wrong on ascent, the crew can get away from Falcon and get picked up safely. I've worked on Dragon since 2012. When I see Dragon lift off, I think I'm going to feel a buildup of emotion of 8 years of working with some of the best engineers and technicians across the country that put their heart and mind into making this incredible moment happen for everybody.
And they're also doing that final FOD check, making sure that the crew don't have any foreign object debris, dust, dirt, anything that could interfere with the systems on Dragon just before they get in.
Right, as Leland and Lauren were mentioning earlier, they do have stuff on their suits to protect from FOD, and they have FOD covers on their boots, as they mentioned, as well as on their umbilical port on their suits. And that needs to be removed before they can ingress.
The crew has arrived at the White Room, and its ingress is in progress on schedule.
Just listening into the nets and hearing those updates live. But yes, once the FOD check is complete, they can enter, which is happening live on your screen right now. And as they climb into Dragon, they will buckle themselves in and attach their umbilicals to their suits. And as you can see, the suit techs are there to help them get buckled and settled into those seats. And as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the suit's primary function is to protect the crew in the event of a cabin depressurization. So the suits help keep them cool, as well as delivers nitrox in case there is a suit depressurization.
As we go through this, we saw Doug Hurley go in first. He's the commander for this mission. He's closest to your screen. And then Bob Behnken's just next to him, and they're going to get some assistance from these suit techs as they get in. There are 4 seats inside of Dragon for these missions, and they are numbered 1 through 4 if you're looking from the perspective of the suit techs inside the hatch, going from right to left. So Doug Hurley is in seat 2, that's the commander seat, and Bob Behnken is in seat 3, which for Crew Dragon's the pilot seat. And obviously we don't have anybody in seats 1 or 4 today. Crew Dragon is designed to carry 4 astronauts, though, on future NASA missions, and we'll see that on Crew 1, which will have 3 NASA astronauts and 1 from our partner agency, JAXA. And then directly above the crew right now, but right in front of them, once their seats get rotated, are the 3 displays that they'll use throughout the flight. And that just gives them insight into all of Dragon's systems. It allows them to take control of the vehicle and manually fly it, which we'll see them do hopefully only twice during 2 manual flight tests. As again, Dragon's autonomous, but they can jump in and take over if they need to.
And as Dan mentioned, the displays are above them right now, but those seats will rotate back for launch position so that they can easily access those displays. So coming up next, the crew will do a comm check once they're all settled in. And that's so that they can check to make sure that they can hear mission control, and then after that, their seats will be rotated into position. So let's check in with John Innsbrucker for the latest on the health of both of those vehicles. John, what's the status update today?
We're at T-minus 2 hours, 43 minutes, and counting down for Falcon 9 with Dragon to the space station. As you see, the Dragon launch pad team has obviously arrived at the pad. They got there shortly after T-minus 4 hours. Open up the side hatch on Dragon.
Everything are working. They're able to talk to and hear everybody on the ground.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check, ground stations.
SpaceX Dragon, loud and clear.
Core, loud and clear, ground station comm check complete. Stand by for Tejas comm check. Dragon, SpaceX, we are ready and initiating seat rotation.
Dragon copies.
And we just heard the seat rotations about to begin. So, Jessica, thank you so much. Cool facts about Dragon for everyone to listen in on, and we can see the seats start to rotate now. Pretty soon Bob and Doug will be in their launch configuration, and they'll be ready to go. And we can see the seats slowly start to rotate. Again, they're in this down position just to make it easier to climb in and out of Dragon. They'll rotate to this launch position to put their backs a little bit more parallel to the ground. It makes taking the G-force a little bit easier for the crew on the way uphill, but most importantly, positions those touchscreens directly in front of them, which is just their gateway into Dragon.
Dragon, SpaceX, seats are in the launch position.
We copy.
You have an outstanding team on the ground supporting you, and that is so important to have that ground support as you climb into that vehicle. You know that they've done their very best to ensure your safety and a successful mission. But after that, it's a piece of cake, except no simulator on Earth can prepare you for what those guys are going to feel. It's better than a cat shot off an aircraft carrier.
I believe it. Maybe one day I'll get to try. The commercialization effort means we want everybody to be able to fly into space. That's the goal.
That's a great point about preparation, because that's not the highly visible part.
Stage 2 lock float is closed out. Propellant fills are complete. Dragon is in auto idle.
Stage 2 LOX load complete. All fuel, all oxidizer on Falcon 9. 1 minute, 34 seconds to go till launch.
Ground gas closeouts is starting.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Dragon is in countdown. FTS is armed for launch.
Under a minute now, the FTS, the flight termination system, has been armed.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, we're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. And so rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
And we heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job and they switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out for MVAC engine chill. That's getting the MVAC engine ready to light. That'll come at about 2:44 into flight. Right now, everything continuing to look good. Next major event coming up is going to be the triple. We'll have main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine to continue to carry astronauts into orbit. Coming up in about 20 seconds.
M1D throttle down.
We heard we're throttling down the Merlin engines on the first stage. And we have MECO.
MECO.
2 Alpha.
Falcon stage separation confirmed.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
MVAC ignition.
All right, we have stage separation confirmed. The first stage beginning its flight back. The second stage being powered by that single Merlin 1D vacuum engine has ignited and is now carrying Bob and Doug into orbit. So they're going to continue under the power of this second stage.
Stage 2 propulsion is nominal.
Which will cut off at SECO, or second engine cutoff, at about 8 minutes and 44 seconds into today's flight. So a little over 5 minutes to go still on this second stage. You heard the call out 2 Alpha, so they're now in the longest abort zone that carries them all the way from about North Carolina up the eastern seaboard almost to Canada. Things looking good though, getting good call outs, nominal propulsion on that second stage. Bob and Doug continuing to make their way into orbit.
Dragon SpaceX nominal trajectory.
Acquisition of signal in Bermuda.
SpaceX Dragon nominal trajectory.
All right, here in nominal trajectory, so Dragon pointed in the right direction, continuing to make their flight uphill. Heard acquisition of signal Bermuda. That's one of the other ground stations that they're using to get telemetry and data back from this spacecraft.
Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
A little over 4 minutes, 40 seconds into the flight. Bob and Doug flying at more than 5,600 miles
Dragon
per hour.
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
Already almost 200 miles downrange from the Kennedy Space Center. Nominal trajectory continuing. And while they continue uphill, looks like we are getting a view of the first stage as well.
Yep, on your right screen, you can see that first stage with the grid fins deployed. It's making its way back to attempt to land on our drone ship, Of Course, I Still Love You today. And we're just about a couple minutes away from the entry burn, and that's where 3 of the 9 Merlin engines do ignite to help slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere. And then after the entry burn will be the landing burn, which is just a single engine
Dragon
burn.
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
And you heard
Nominal
Starting
trajectory.
chill for entry burn.
there's that call out. They are still on a nominal trajectory on Dragon, still on second stage, and that's that MVAC engine on second stage on your left screen. Again, on your right screen is that first stage booster coming back towards our drone ship, Of Course, I Still Love You. We're about a minute away from entry burn.
Meanwhile, that second stage continuing to power Dragon into orbit. Again, if you're keeping an eye on that timer, that's going to continue to burn until 8 minutes and 44 seconds into flight. So a little over 2 minutes from now, we'll hear the call out SECO. It'll then be a little
Stage 2 propulsion is still good.
A little over 3 minutes until Dragon physically separates from the second stage of the Falcon 9 after the upper
Dragon
stage gets a
SpaceX
chance.
nominal trajectory.
Dragon copies, nominal trajectory.
Continuing to check in with Bob and Doug as they are on a nominal trajectory. Just about 10 seconds away from that first stage, starting that entry burn on your right screen. We should be able to see that view live.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there is that entry burn
Acquisition
beginning.
signal, New Hampshire.
This burn lasts about 36 seconds long.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
While that entry burn continues, we're just about a minute away from SECO. We'll have a number of events all happen in rapid succession. It'll be the
shutdown.
second engine cutoff.
Stage 1
We'll be
entry burn
looking for
shutdown.
that stage 1 landing burn shortly after.
Yeah, actually, just within a few seconds of each other. It's such a cool view on your left screen, seeing Bob and Doug on Dragon. Right now, you can see the displays that they are seeing right now themselves.
Terminal guidance.
MVAC throttle step.
We are coming up 25 seconds or so away from SECO, or second engine cutoff.
This is also the point where Bob and Doug are experiencing their highest G-force. We're seeing the counter tick up to right about
Stage 1 entry
1.8.
transonic.
Copy Shannon.
You heard Shannon, so that just means they're in their final abort zones. If they were to abort at this point, it would either be an abort to orbit or to land off the coast of Ireland. Standing by for second
Stage 1
engine
landing
cutoff
startup.
confirmation.
MVAC throttle step. MVAC shutdown. Stage 1 landing layer.
Confirmation of SECO's second engine cutoff.
Now we are waiting for our first stage to make its way to our drone ship, Of Course, I Still Love You.
Dragon SpaceX nominal orbital insertion.
Did
Launch
get
escape system
confirmation
is disarmed.
nominal
Dragon
orbital
copies,
insertion.
nominal
Stage
orbital
1 landing leg
insertion.
deploy.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship, where our first stage will. Looks like we lost that live view, but we'll wait for confirmation of that landing shortly here.
Falcon 9 first stage is successfully landed.
And
aboard
there you
Of
can
Course I
see
Still
on
Love
your screen, Falcon 9 has landed. This is the first Falcon 9 to carry
Acquisition signal,
humans to
Newfoundland.
orbit, so very exciting for us. And as you can see on your right screen, Bob and Doug are still making their way to their targeted orbit.
M1D to Recovery 1.
So exciting today.
M1D.
It doesn't stop.
It does not stop.
All right, we did hear again that call out, good orbital insertion, so that means Falcon 9 and Dragon right now exactly where they're supposed to be.
M1D to FRC on Recovery 1.
And it's right at about 12 minutes when Dragon will separate. Looks like we saw a 0G indicator floating around there. I know Bob and Doug owe us a little bit about what exactly that is that they brought up with them.
And before separation, before Dragon initiates separation from the second stage, they do make sure to they do ensure that the vehicle is not spinning and it is in good condition before we separate.
That's right, the upper stage does small attitude maneuver using some cold gas thrusters built into the rocket body itself.
Exactly, so we do expect that separation to occur in about a minute from now, but they do wait until they have full confirmation that it is ready to separate. Such cool views. I cannot get over this view that we are seeing right now. Bob and Doug on the right screen inside of Crew Dragon out in space.
Yeah, already 200 kilometers over planet Earth, or a little over 124 miles, traveling in excess of 2,700 meters. 27,000 meters per second, or about 16,000 miles per hour. So again, we're just standing by. That separation event should be coming up shortly. Then they'll begin a series of checks on the Draco thrusters that are going to be used to maneuver and then power Dragon on its flight to the International Space Station. Standing by for separation.
Expected loss of signal, wallops.
It sounds like we had an expected LOS, loss of signal, with one of the ground stations. Waiting for confirmation now of that.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Dragon separation confirmed.
There is a great view right in front of you
Countdown
of Dragon separating.
Separation confirmed.
And there's that call out. Dragon is now officially making its way to the International Space Station today.
Dragon SpaceX with that separation call. We have a few words for you from our Falcon 9 team.
Standing by.
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to ground. Bob, Doug, on behalf of the entire launch team, thanks for flying with Falcon 9 today. We hope you enjoyed the ride and wish you a great mission.
Thanks, Bala. Congratulations to you and the F9 team for the first human ride for Falcon 9, and it was incredible. Appreciate all the hard work, and thanks for the great ride to space.
Copy all.
Oh, and Mike, proud of you guys and the rest of the team. Thank you so much for what you've done for us today, putting America back into low Earth orbit from the Florida coast.
Copy all. Good luck. Godspeed.
All right, so Bob and Doug are in
And Dragon
space.
SpaceX, we confirm nominal ECLS activation and service section Draco checkouts. Nose cone deploys in progress.
Copy all. We're monitoring.
The Corps here in Hawthorne giving the crew a heads up that we have confirmation the nose cone is deploying. So again, that nose cone is going to open up a little bit more than 90 degrees, goes up to about, I think, 105 degrees, and that's going to expose the actual docking ring and the hatch that they're going to be going through once they attach to the International Space Station, and also 4 of those Draco thrusters, we call them the forward bulkhead thrusters, that are going to be used for these major phase burns or firings of those thrusters to actually raise their orbit gradually over the coming hours. Also heard good activation of the ECLS, that's the Environmental Control and Life Support System. That's everything controlling their atmosphere, just keeping Dragon a nice, safe, habitable environment where they're going to be living for the next 19 hours until they arrive at the space station.
Right, exactly. And Falcon 9's job may be done for today, but the mission is not over. Crew Dragon's job is not done. As you can see, Bob and Doug are still inside Crew Dragon, making their way. It will be a 19-hour trip to the International Space Station before they dock tomorrow morning. And such cool views. I love that we can get these live views here and see and watch what they're doing now that they are in orbit.
Yeah, it's incredible to just be looking over their shoulder, to be along for the ride. And we're going to be with them, and we're going to be with all of you the entire way for their journey to the space station. We're going to be covering live throughout. Bob and Doug will obviously have a sleep period where they'll get about 8 hours of sleep a little bit later today before they wake up for all of their final approach. One of the major things we are looking forward to in the next couple of hours is going to be their first turn at the controls. So they're actually going to be using those touchscreen displays to take control and manually pilot Dragon. We'll walk you through what that's going to look like, and assuming we have some good ground station coverage, we'll be able to get views from right inside Dragon, looking over their shoulder as they manipulate the controls at the display. But I mean, we had a smooth ride uphill, both stages of the Falcon 9 doing their job, placing Bob and Doug into orbit. I mean, this is a day, this is a historical day. This is us kicking off that new era of spaceflight that we've all been talking about and longing for since the Space Shuttle program came to an end in 2011.
Yes.
And the weather cooperated.
Yes, second time's a charm.
Right.
Dragon copies. Well, everyone, welcome aboard Dragon. My name is Doug. Next to me is Bob. You probably know him. We're so glad to be with you this evening and welcome you on board Dragon. Got a couple things we want to talk about first before we kind of show you around. The first is kind of a tradition we've had over the years with spacecraft going way back to the Mercury era. And then a tradition that's been carried on ever since with all our space vehicles, including the Soyuz. We're given the honor to name this capsule. I know most of you at SpaceX especially know it as Capsule 206, but I think all of us thought that we could maybe do a little bit better than that. So without further ado, we would like to welcome you aboard Capsule Endeavour. We chose Endeavour for a few reasons. One, because of this incredible endeavor NASA, SpaceX, and the United States has been on since the end of the shuttle program back in 2011. The other reason we named it Endeavour is a little more personal to Bob and I. We both had our first flights on Shuttle Endeavour, and it just meant so much to us to carry on that name. That's what we decided to go with. So we hope you enjoy that name, and once again, welcome on board.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome aboard Endeavour, the SpaceX vehicle headed to the International Space Station. Today, we accomplished the first flight off the Florida coast in quite some time, and Doug and I were really proud to have an opportunity to be a part of that. We're doing it in a brand new spaceship, a spaceship that's a lot different than its namesake Endeavour, the Space Shuttle, in that it has touch display screens that allow us to accomplish most of the interfacing requirements that we have. We'll have if Doug pans over and points at the display in front of me, you can see the forward view that we had during the maneuvers that we most recently did. You can look out the window. It looks like the centerline camera doesn't have a lot of content on it now. We're kind of pointed into space so that the windows can see the Earth below us. But we've got the capability to interface with the vehicle, and it's kind of interesting. There's a command. This little button over here is actually what the commands are for our displays. One thing that does get lost is there is a extensive button panel down below as well. So over on this side, we can turn the displays on and off, as well as send some commands for some contingency situations. On the other side, we have the ability to deploy chutes and things like that on entry. So we do have some buttons, but the primary interface is these displays. So nice, new, modern cockpit that we've got for our compared to our namesake, the Space Shuttle Endeavour. I'm going to migrate a little bit away from our seats here, and Doug from his seat is going to continue to try to follow me so you can tell what can be seen from the seat that he sits in. So from his seat, when he is in the vehicle strapped in, this is what his view actually looks like. You can see a window off to the one side. We each have a window that we can view out and see what's going on outside. That was exciting on ascent for us to be able to see the arm rotate away from the pad, and that's when we both, I think, knew that we were going to launch today. So that was super cool. I've got one on my side as well. The hatch that we came in is the hatch that's right behind me. It is a little bit of a tight quarters, but I'm going to try to demonstrate some of the capability that we have now that we're in zero gravity. So I think I was requested to do a backflip. I'm going to kind of do a side spin, which is a little bit of a permutation on that request. So hopefully you can see what it's like to actually float in zero gravity, and Doug and I are super excited that we got the opportunity to do this again today, even before the end of May. So that was super cool. We did, it turns out, end up with one stowaway on board our vehicle when we launched today. It was not just Doug and I who accomplished the launch here. We do have an Apatosaurus aboard. We both have two boys who are super interested in dinosaurs. And we collected up all the dinosaurs between the two houses, and Trimmer, the Apatosaurus, got the vote from the boys to make the trip into space today with us. And so that was a super cool thing for us to get a chance to do for both of our sons, who I hope are super excited to see their toys floating around with us on board. I'm sure they would rather be here given the opportunity, but hopefully they're proud of this as well.
Okay, as we work our way towards one of the windows, unfortunately it's getting a little bit dark, but I don't know if Bob can pan over here. We just passed off of the coast of Newfoundland, and we're headed over to over the Atlantic right now. I don't know if you can get a good picture of that. Anyway, enjoy that view as we pass over the Atlantic, and I think with that we will work ourselves back into the seats and wrap things up for this evening.
So Doug's there making a nice big smile for the camera. I hope you enjoyed the trip today with us on board the Dragon capsule Endeavour with our friend Trimmer, the Apatosaurus, and Doug and I. We just would like to thank SpaceX, we'd like to thank NASA, and we'd like to thank the American people for the opportunity today. And we're really proud of the entire team that was able to accomplish human spaceflight again from the Florida coast. Just a wonderful experience. Doug and I are just so proud to be a part of it, and just want to thank everybody who gave us this opportunity and worked so hard to make this happen today.
So with that, I think it'll be good night from Capsule Endeavour. Good night to everyone at NASA, at SpaceX, and the United States, and congratulations to the teams that got us into orbit. And we're looking forward to seeing Chris Cassidy and his Russian colleagues on board the International Space Station tomorrow morning.
Good night, Megan and Theo.
And Karen and Jack.
Well, it really hit home, you know, when you meet somebody's kids and the vehicle that they're responsible for, you know, that their life's at stake. It really hits home. So, you know, we still got to dock with the space station. We still got to return. I think there's an argument that the return is more dangerous in some ways than the ascent. So we don't want to declare victory yet. We need to bring him home safely. Make sure that we're doing everything we can to minimize that risk of reentry and return. We were able to do that with the Demo 1 vehicle, so we were able to retire a lot of risk with the reentry there. That's a big deal, but yeah, anyway, get it choked up here. So it's really this. Yeah, I'm getting choked up. Sorry, I'm not sure I can answer the question any more than that. Except, yeah, going to do everything we can to make sure he gets home safely.
This afternoon, I am delighted to be with you at Cape Canaveral in this storied home of American daring, aspiration, and drive. This is the first big space message in 50 years. Think of that. And it is an honor to be delivering it. Today, as we gather in this special place to celebrate not only the launch of a new spacecraft, but also our nation's bold and triumphant return to the stars, it's a special day. Moments ago, the world bore witness to the flight of the first new manned U.S. spacecraft in nearly 40 years since the Space Shuttle launched in 1981, a long time ago. I am thrilled to announce that the SpaceX Dragon capsule has successfully reached low Earth orbit and that our astronauts are safe and sound.
One of the things we're going to be looking to do as soon as this flight is over is get to that next one, that Crew 1 flight, that first full-up operational mission as quickly as possible, up to about a month after Demo 2 is concluded. So it's all going to ride on how this Demo 2 flight goes. Obviously, there's some certification work that has to happen. This is that really final test, though, for NASA to certify SpaceX to begin doing what we call operational flights. So just a regular cadence of long-duration missions. So crew members going up for 6 months or even longer at a time on board the Crew Dragon. This is the whole reason we have the commercial crew program, and we're going to start flying 4 crew members at a time. We've already identified the first 4 crew members to fly in Crew 1. It's going to be 3 NASA astronauts, Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Shannon Walker, and 1 astronaut from our partner agency, JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, Soichi Noguchi, who's going to be making his 3rd flight into space. So a couple of veterans on board. For Victor Glover, it's going to be his first space flight. I'm really excited to see him get in the mix. He's an incredible person. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see him up in outer space.
Dragon SpaceX, we are go for you to begin the media event at this time.
Dragon copies. Well, good morning, everyone from Endeavor. We had a great night last night, got to get a little sleep, and as you can see from the video, we are just passing over Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. A beautiful day pass right now. And heading northeast up towards Central Asia, and then we'll work our way out the western part of the Himalayas there, and work our way all the way out over, looks like Japan, out into the Pacific for this particular pass. If you look closely in the video, you can see just a sliver of moon kind of halfway between the surface of the Earth and the window pane as we're flying at about 17,500 miles an hour around the planet. Getting pretty close to ISS. When we were in the night part of this orbit, we actually got to see ISS out the window, which was pretty neat to see it for the first time on this trip. Bob's panning the camera back now, just kind of taking a look at around the cabin just to see how things look after a crew's lived in Dragon for an evening. We last night, the way things went, we had our normal activation, got out of our suits, had some a little bit of dinner, then reconfigured the cabin for orbit ops. Did a couple other events, including the media event last night, and then we proceeded to get ready for bed, which in space takes a little bit longer than I think on planet Earth. We had to pull out sleeping bags and sleeping clothes and all those kinds of things. Got kind of cleaned up, and then we ended up sleeping just like we are right now, right in our chairs, which was actually a pretty comfortable night's sleep. One of the things we did yesterday was actually manually fly Crew Dragon for the first time, and I want to compliment the teams at Hawthorne. Just a spectacular job with the simulator, as the vehicle flew exactly like the simulators out in Hawthorne. So just want to thank the teams that did all the work on that particular training device, as well as all the modeling and the GNC. It really worked out well and was a joy to fly. And I'm guessing it was the first time a space vehicle was flown with a touchscreen before. So we got that going for us. I'm going to hand the mic over to Bob.
Well, hello, folks. Welcome aboard the Dragon capsule Endeavour. Doug and I had a good night's sleep last night. We were surprised, I think, at how well we actually slept aboard the vehicle. A little bit quieter than Space Shuttle, a little bit more, I guess, environmentally controlled. So we had didn't have CO2 pockets or things like that building up, giving us congestion, which was super awesome. He talked a little bit about the changing and going back and forth between our suits and our sleepwear and the clothes we're in now, and managing all those things. But we've managed to keep the ship pretty tidy at this point as we went through the night's activities and then got into our preparation for today. We did get our suits dried out, get them packed away into the black bags that are stowed in the outboard seats. You can, if you look closely, you can see we've got them strapped in with the regular straps that you'd use for riding into orbit, and then over against kind of that former window location, there is a you can see Doug's sleep bag there next to his crew notebook, and so that's how we're keeping all of our laundry constrained floating all around today. Doug mentioned the manual flying and how well the simulator matched that. I'll tell you that for the ride uphill on Ascent, they just are never able to capture that at the simulator. And so I think Doug and I were talking about all the observations that we had all the way uphill. While it was an exciting ride, I think we got a couple of minor surprises just in terms of the way the vehicle is kind of moving and shaking and taking you into orbit. You can tell that it's fighting against the Earth as it makes its way into space, and that's just something a simulator can never truly simulate. We do have a friend on board with us. We introduced you to Trimmer yesterday when we did our little activity with the camera. Trimmer also had a good night's sleep. I know that both of our sons are pretty happy about that with their pet dinosaur making it into orbit and having a good night in zero. And once we get on board the space station to reunite Trimmer with Earthy and plan to bring both of them back to Earth. I know that we'll get Trimmer through the safety brief and get all the education that's required so that we'll have a safe operation while we're on board the space station should anything come up that we need to be prepared for. I know that Trimmer's also looking forward to helping us out with EVA preparations just in case we need to do a spacewalk, and so we're looking forward to that as well.
2 minutes until LOS.
Let's see, I think we'll go ahead and bring the camera out a little bit and we'll show you what's going on underneath the seats on board the Dragon capsule Endeavour. We've got quite a bit of cargo that we'll be taking to the space station. We've got some hard racks as well. The hard stowage that we have can also be swapped, these hard containers here, for powered cargo, which lets us bring back refrigerated things from the International Space Station. And if you're super lucky, we don't have that this time, but I bet you some crew will take ice cream to the International Space Station with those. That'll be exciting for those crews to get to have that. We do have some emergency equipment labeled in red, which is nice to have and easy to see, as well as the other stowage bags that we have down here as well. I don't know if you were watching closely during our strap-in and insertion on the pad, but we did have the seats rotate at one point. We were down in an easier configuration to ingress the vehicle in, so when we climbed aboard, the seats were rotated down, and after we were strapped in, they rotated up our activities. And so those seats will rotate again in preparation for splashdown when we eventually come home. So if any of you all know Uncle Kirk Shireman, as we call him, you could ask him when we're coming home and make sure that he starts having a plan for us.
Well, we appreciate you having them coming on board again with us on Endeavour, and enjoyed showing you around both inside and out. The next time we'll be on video for you. We'll hopefully be on board Chris Cass in just hours. So we appreciate you stopping by and from Endeavour.
SpaceX Dragon, comm check from the CDR in suit.
And this is SpaceX on Big Loop. I hear CDR loud and clear. Help me.
SpaceX Dragon on the Big Loop, comm check suited. We've got you loud and clear on the Big Loop.
Great to hear your voice.
All right, that was Doug Hurley. It sounds like they're in their suits. You heard him refer to CDR, Doug Hurley, the spacecraft commander for this mission. Bob Behnken's in the pilot seat. He's also the Joint Operations Commander. And so this is actually one of the main areas of his concern is when we're doing these joint operations with the space station. So we're doing joint operations here on the ground. That obviously just means that the Dragon spacecraft and the International Space Station, close proximity and about to be linked up. Bob Behnken, the one kind of overseeing all of the operations while Dragon is attached. Wow. Well,
That is a very pretty view.
And we did hear confirmation that the AI burn, the approach initiation burn, is in progress. Again, this is about a 90-second firing of those thrusters on the Dragon spacecraft.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop, burn complete, nominal burn. Reminder to review your impulsive retreat recovery cue cards if desired.
Copy, nominal burn on the Big Loop. We will review our cue cards.
So Anna Menon, the core there, giving the crew some insight that the burn was completed nominally. As Dan had mentioned, there is that mid-course correction. And Anna had mentioned impulsive retreat cue cards. Bob and Doug have the ability to issue commands to Dragon if they see anything that's unsafe. So, of course, on those 3 displays that they have between the 2 of them, they can see the rate of the vehicle, how quickly they're closing, and they have a set of criteria that they're looking for to make sure that they're safely approaching the station. So Anna just giving them a heads up that they should review that criteria if they so desire, so they feel fully confident before the mid-course.
And here's a really cool view. So on the right is a view from station looking at Dragon. On the left, a view from that camera, that thermal camera on Dragon looking back at station. So it's continuing to close in. It's about 6.5 kilometers, or just over 4 miles away. That AI burn, that approach initiation burn, was done successfully, reported up to the crew and the teams down here on the ground. They're going to do a mid-course burn, so just about midway through their track up to 400 meters below the space station. That'll come in about 23 minutes from now. And then we're waiting until we get to waypoint 0. It should take about 43 minutes for this kind of gentle glide from 2.5 kilometers below to just 400 meters below. That'll take about 43 minutes until they arrive there.
Yeah, and if we hopefully have a good video of Dragon during that mid-course correction, you may see some small plumes coming off of the sides of the vehicle. That's those 12 service section Draco thrusters doing small attitude adjustments just to make sure that we're coming to station as expected. Really small, minute corrections at this point. Kind of fun to see the
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground, just checking for a status on suit donning.
You're welcome to come back on board. We're both in our suits, and we're just finishing up the procedure now.
Copy, thank you. And can I get a comm check with Bob when he has a moment, please?
About to do that, just maybe a minute or so.
Okay, sounds good.
And while those leak checks are in work, the station itself is in the docking attitude. We get to do a pretty cool thing with station during the docking of the Crew Dragon. Normally, the station's attitude, or which way it's pointing, is controlled by these very large gyroscopes called control moment gyros. And it's a pretty efficient way, only using electricity, to keep these large gyros spinning, pointing in opposite directions to help stabilize the station. It's a very large spacecraft. So using thrusters a little more work intensive. We actually switch over to the Russian thrusters during the initial docking of the Dragon spacecraft, and then after that,
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground, we saw 2 good leak checks.
And Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground, we saw the same. Great news, thanks.
and we just got confirmation 2 good leak checks on those suits, so another milestone down as they continue their approach. But just to finish that thought, we're on Russian thrusters right now, controlling the attitude on board the space station. We'll flip over back to the control moment gyros, so those are over on the U.S. segment. once we make that initial soft capture, just because we don't want during that final pull in of that soft capture ring before we get to that ready to latch, the thruster controls of the attitude can be a little bit more jarring. So we switch back over to the control moment gyros and then let Dragon resume its hard mate. But all that coming up in just about 2 hours, hopefully, away from our targeted docking time, right around 7:30 a.m. Pacific here in Hawthorne. But everything continuing to go well. We have that approach initiation burn happen about 16 minutes ahead of schedule. In just under 8 minutes from now, we'll do our mid-course burn, and then we're standing by for that arrival at waypoint 0 in just under 28 minutes from now.
Now on your screen is a view of the Dragon spacecraft from the International Space Station. We're on the sunlit side of the Earth, so daytime for those folks. Middle of the day, I'm sure. Right now, actually, Dragon is just about to fly over the Caspian Sea. So if the clouds sort of break a little bit, we might get some cool views of planet Earth behind us.
Pretty dramatic shot of Dragon as it continues to close in. The station and Dragon right now just over the northeastern part of China. They are in an orbital nighttime. So the sun is setting on both vehicles right now as they're flying about 262 statute miles over the surface of planet Earth. 2 crew members, NASA's Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley, inside Dragon, closing in on their home for the next several months, and completing the first crewed flight of the commercial crew program era to the International Space Station. So we should be under 2 hours away from the planned docking time. We were looking at a docking around 7:30 a.m. Over here on the West Coast, but they were able to move through a number of their maneuvers a little bit quicker. We've got about 16 minutes ahead of the approach initiation burn, so that docking time will be a little bit variable and will hinge on how quickly they're able to move through that second manual flight test. But everything continuing to go smoothly. We're waiting for their arrival at waypoint 0, should be coming up in just about 12 minutes from now.
Getting great views from Dragon of the International Space Station. Look at that, the lights reflecting from the outside of the International Space Station turned on. So Bob and Doug have a very clear view of the International Space Station. Should be entering into an orbital sunrise here shortly. From there, we'll take you through the next few maneuvers, again passing waypoint 1 and going right into that manual flight test. Again, everything here from Mission Control Houston, International Space Station configured for docking. Everything's go from our end.
A few more minutes until they're done with this Y-axis translation. And then they'll be able to turn command back over to Dragon, which will return itself to the docking axis and then begin that approach into waypoint 2.
Yeah, and as a look ahead, so when we do transition into that approach, Dragon will autonomously go towards waypoint 2, which is just 20 meters away from the forward international docking adapter on node 2. And it'll hold there. That'll give the ground team some time, both in Houston and here in Hawthorne, to do a go-no-go poll, make sure that the vehicle still looks healthy, make sure that everyone on board the space station and of course on board Dragon.
SpaceX Dragon, we've completed with the translation maneuvers. We're going to pick up with the closure maneuver.
We copy. We're following along with you.
All right, sounds like they're done with their translations. They're going to start moving it back to the docking axis.
SpaceX Dragon, that completes the closure maneuver.
We copy. Closure maneuver complete.
That will move on to 4.041, section 4.
We copy and concur.
All right, so our manual flight test has been completed. We're standing by for them to now resume approach 1. So to move in from that waypoint 1, we're already inside of the keep out sphere at this point. Dragon's holding just 176 meters from the space station, and pretty soon they're going to be approaching.
Thanks, Dragon. That completes the manual piloting demonstration. I only had to twist Doug's arm for 2 or 3 minutes to get him to allow me to deactivate the piloting controls.
We copy. Excellent. Thank you. And with that, we ask that you, from the display used for manual piloting, please go to audio settings and adjust a gain setting for seat 1 or 4. And in addition, we would appreciate any handling qualities evaluation of the proximity piloting possible.
We've completed the gain setting adjustment for seat 1, and I'll turn it over to Doug for the handling quality quick look.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop for the handling qualities. It flew just about like the sim, so my congratulations to the folks in Hawthorne. Flew really well, very crisp. It was a little sloppier and wide, just like we saw in the sim, but all the other axes, as well as closure and opening, were all just as per.
Excellent to hear. Thank you. Dragon SpaceX on big loop. The ground will be resuming approach shortly. We do plan to hold briefly at waypoint 2, so reminder that crew visors down are not required until the ground is preparing to command the final approach.
SpaceX Dragon, we copy. We'll hold at waypoint 2 for a pause, and then we'll get our visors then once you command.
We copy.
And station hits Houston on the big loop. As you've heard, Endeavour is resuming its approach to waypoint 2. Chris, you can monitor now for step 2. That's step 2 and 1.104 Crew Dragon approach and retreat monitor.
Copy, step 2 will work.
Set of what we call flight rules. So those are technical constraints, items that we look for. That if any of those criteria were violated, then we have a rule that we've predetermined, gives us guidance to say whether we could approach or not. So far, our vehicle has been very healthy, but technical ground teams will all do their due diligence to make sure that it's still safe to approach.
Right, and at this moment, that approach is continuing, still moving in at about 0.3 of a meter per second. Dragon's coming up on just 100 meters away from the space station.
So the very top there is the nose cone on the spacecraft, where we've got a cool view. Left side of your screen is the International Space Station. Right side of your screen is Dragon.
We're inside 100 meters, continuing to close. Again, we're going to have a short hold at 20 meters. Teams will just do a final check, and then they'll give Dragon the go. We're expecting it to be pretty brief. We should get to that hold point in just about 4 minutes, moving at our current pace.
I think you can see a meatball and American flag on that on the spacecraft. The NASA logo, of course, referred to as the meatball. I think there was some spirited discussion about the meatball versus the worm during ascent. And you can see those logos. That structure on the fairing structure is actually what the Super Dracos are housed in. Of course, all of those are deactivated now, only used for launch escape during the ascent portion. Nose cone right at the top of the vehicle. And you can see sort of the ceiling surface, those four circular slots right underneath the nose cone within that red ring are the forward bulkhead Dracos. That's what we were using while we were conducting all those burns the 5 burns to get to this point. Right now, we don't have a reason to use those. We'll only be making small attitude corrections with the service section Dracos. And you can see the service section actually pretty clearly here too. There's a black portion and a white portion sort of separated by a fin. The black portion is solar panels, solar cells that'll charge Dragon's batteries, and the bottom side, the white portion, is actually a thermal radiator that's used to keep the spacecraft nice and cool. Of course, the avionics and the cabin, making sure that Bob and Doug are comfortable inside.
It looks like we're getting a shadow cast. We are just 60 meters away, continuing to close in, just about 40 meters to go until we're at that hold point. Should get there in just over 2 minutes. Meanwhile, teams in Hawthorne and in Houston doing their internal go, no go for docking. They're going to get all the teams polled. Once everyone's go, we'll be able to give Dragon the final go-ahead for the vehicle to autonomously fly in and dock with the International Space Station. Should be coming up on waypoint 2 arrival in just about 1 minute, 45 seconds. At this point, it'll be 20 meters away from that docking port. The International Docking Adapter number 2 attached to pressurized mating adapter number 2 at the very forward end of the Harmony module.
Right there on the right around the center, you can see the forward hatch. It's got a window in it. You can see a couple of handles, and there's some features that look sort of bronze-ish. Those are the pedals that we were talking about earlier as part of the soft capture system. So pretty wild too to see. We're so close that we're getting shadows from the station on Dragon. Wow.
And we're getting these views of Dragon's approach from 2 cameras that are right next to that docking adapter. And the movement's a little jarring at times. These cameras are being commanded by a person at the Cronus console in Mission Control Houston, and they send some very basic function commands to the camera, which it then executes automatically. And so they're continuing to follow Dragon in, so we do thank them for their diligence to give us these views of this historic moment as we are just less than 30 meters away from docking.
Right above the NASA meatball logo, you can see 3 of the service section Draco thrusters.
That's right, 12 in all. So the 4 of those clusters spread around the vehicle, used for a lot of the attitude control and any small translational maneuvers like we just watched Bob and Doug execute with their second manual flight test.
Yeah, and actually oriented in a way too where if you were to lose some of those thrusters, you still have redundancy and control in those axes. That's part of the reason why they're sort of at the angles that they are.
All right, so we should be getting to waypoint 2 right now. So it looks like we do have that hold.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop. The ground is go for approach 2. We will be enabling the resume shortly. As a reminder, ensure your visors are closed prior to Dragon's departure from the waypoint. And once Dragon is inside the crew hands-off point, retreat and breakout are not permitted. And for your awareness, we have sunset in a little less than 8.5 minutes.
Copies all on the Big Loop. Go for docking.
So Doug on the spacecraft confirming their go for docking. They're going to put down their visors. Got some instructions there about the crew hands-off point that we had talked about earlier. That's a point where we don't want the crew issuing any commands to the vehicle. It's about just about 2 meters away from the docking adapter. I believe the number is about 1.7 meters.
Station Houston on the Big Loop. Houston and station are now go for docking. Chris, you can monitor per steps 3 and 4. 3 and 4 in 1.104 Crew Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Copy steps 3 and 4. SpaceX Dragon on the big loop. Our visors are down.
Copy, visors down.
With the crew confirming their visors down, we should see the final approach resume.
Dragon on the big loop. We are inbound from approach 2.
Copy, inbound.
Mission copy.
And we're going to be racing that sunset. The approach has resumed. Dragon closing in. We're inside 20 meters. And yeah, that crew hands-off point should come up in about 3 minutes or so. Right before we get that final docking, it comes about 20 seconds prior, or just about 2 meters away from the station still. And that's just the crew not issuing any abort commands. At that point, it would be too late. And so any aborts would be executed automatically by Dragon itself. So we're closing in at less than 1/10 of a meter per second at this point.
You can see the surface section Draco is just doing all these very small, minor attitude corrections. Really, the autonomous docking system at work, making sure that the vestibule and the soft capture system is lined up with IDA2. It's the International Docking Adapter. You can see much more clearly there the hinge mechanism for the nose cone. Those 4 black circles are the forward bulkhead Dracos, not to be used at this time. And then, of course, the pedals of the soft capture system. Wow.
Dragon on the big loop. We're inside 10 meters. We cannot make out the docking target, but we do see the outline.
We copy and concur, 10 meters.
Right, we're less than 10 meters away. Again, we're closing at that rate of less than 1/10 of a meter per second. We should be just about 1 minute, 45 seconds away from docking.
There's a center line camera right in that middle, so that you can see where the forward hatch is, and right in the middle of that there's a window, and there's a center line camera that is aligned with the center of the vehicle and the center of the docking mechanism. So that is what the autonomous docking system is using to line up with sort of a cross hatch, cross target on the docking port. Again, the forward docking port on PMA2, or the pressurized mating adapter.
And we are just 5 meters away. Again, we're racing that sunset. This Dragon continues to close, 4 meters to go.
Those shadows of the space station on the vehicle. Yeah, you can actually see the centerline camera pretty clearly there, sort of with the contrast of the sun right now.
3 meters to go. Two meters. We are inside the hands-off point, the chop, the crew hands-off point. 1 meter to go. Soft capture complete.
Dragon and SpaceX. Soft capture confirmed. Stand by for retraction and docking.
And we just heard it, soft capture. We have docking, that coming at 7:16 a.m. Pacific time. with the station and Dragon flying 262 statute miles right over the border between northern China and Mongolia.
You saw a little bit of motion there of Dragon. That was that relative motion that the soft capture system is damping out. Once that motion is clear, then the soft capture system will be retracted, and Dragon will go for hard capture.
Again, if just now tuning in, that soft capture, that docking coming 7:16 a.m. Pacific, 10:16 a.m. over on the East Coast. Dragon and the International Space Station were flying 262 statute miles right over the border between northern China and Mongolia. So that soft capture ring now going to retract. It's one more step on the way to docking complete.
On board.
Yeah, and so the next step here is once the soft capture ring is retracted, there are 12 latches that we refer to as hard capture latches. Those are what will really create that pressure-tight seal between the Dragon spacecraft and the International Space Station. So once soft capture is complete, and I believe we'll get that call from our core here, Anna, then we'll get confirmation of hard capture, and the crew, of course, aboard have this information on their displays, so they'll also see indication of hard capture complete. And once those two steps are done, then that's docking complete.
Dragon SpaceX docking sequence is complete.
SpaceX Dragon, we copy docking complete. To say that it's been a real honor to be just a small part of this 9-year endeavor since the last time the United States spaceship has docked with the International Space Station. We have to congratulate the men and women of SpaceX at Hawthorne, McGregor, and at Kennedy Space Center. Their incredible efforts over the last several years to make this possible cannot go overstated. I'd also like to thank Kathy Leaders and her team of the Commercial Crew Program of NASA. An outstanding job by everyone. Last, I'd like to thank the men and women of the National Aeronautics and Space Agency. This is an incredible time to be at NASA. 3 new vehicles to be flown, continuing mission in low Earth orbit, and then to the moon and Mars. We thank you again and congratulate you.
Dragon arriving. Crew of Expedition 63 is honored to welcome Dragon and the Commercial Crew Program to welcome aboard the International Space Station. Bob and Doug, glad to have you as part of the crew. Well done. Bravo Zulu.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Endeavour, this is Houston. Bob and Doug, welcome to the International Space Station after your spectacular rendezvous and docking of the first Crew Dragon vehicle. For the first time since the retirement of the Space Shuttle, you have completed a historic ride to the ISS and have opened up a new chapter in human space exploration. On behalf of the flight control teams here in Houston and in Hawthorne, California, and to our SpaceX colleagues, bravo on a magnificent moment in spaceflight history and on the start of a new journey that has changed the face of space travel in this new era of space transportation. Bob and Doug, good luck, and we look forward to working with you on board.
Dragon SpaceX, Bob and Doug, we here at SpaceX are honored to have been part of ushering in this new era of human spaceflight. On behalf of the SpaceX and NASA partnership, congratulations on a phenomenal accomplishment and welcome to the International Space Station.
Well, thank you, Anna. We appreciate all the good words and everyone thanking us, but it truly was a magnificent effort by the entire team, the SpaceX team, the NASA team, and a team across America who was able to pull this off and bring human spaceflight again to our nation. Thanks for everything. Happy to be aboard.
And Dragon SpaceX, with that, ground will be enabling hardline power and comm connection shortly. You are go to doff your suits per procedure 4.012. We will be configuring your video to go external shortly, and we have one request for Bob's suit doffing when you're ready to copy.
We copy all. Go ahead for Bob's suit.
During your approach suit leak check, we noticed Bob's suit pass with a lower PSID than his previous vehicle and O&C checks. We still had plenty of margin to support you in a depress, but in order to rule out potential hardware issues, when Bob is doffing, after he opens his structural zipper, check all 3 bladder zipper heads to see if any are partially closed. It is possible that if the head is backed off slightly, that the white tooth is partially visible or a small gap can be seen between the end of the zipper head and the gasket end. Please report observations.
Copy. Bob will take a close look at his zippers when he doffs, and he'll get doffing first, so we'll let you know as soon as we see something or if we see something.
Great. Thank you so much.
And there's Bob Behnken.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop. You are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in your procedure 4.400.
Dragon copies go for hatch opening and remaining steps in 4.400.
And with that, the hatch is open. 12:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley opened the hatch to the International Space Station after launching from American soil on a U.S. vehicle for the first time in 9 years. The first time ever for a commercially built spacecraft.
And with that, Endeavour, welcome to the International Space Station. Please come aboard.
Endeavour copies with pleasure. We'll be there in a second.
We have Bob Behnken from SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley.
Station Houston, we see you, and it's a great-looking photograph. So thanks for that. Stand by one. We'll call you when we're ready for the event in the next few seconds. Got a whole bunch of very happy and grateful people making their way into MCC right now. All right, station, it's Houston on Space Ground 2. Confirm that you are ready for the event.
Houston, this station, we are ready for the event.
Copy that. And sir, Administrator Bridenstine, welcome to MCC. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is the NASA Administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, they're so proud of everything you have done for our country and, in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and, of course, NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
Well, we have some VIPs with us here, and I'm sure they have some questions that they'd like to ask you, but I have one of my own before I turn it over. And I just wanted to find out if you guys got any sleep on your way up there the last, I'd say, I got 19 hours. Did you guys get any sleep?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in Hawthorne were asking the same question, sir, but we did get probably a good 7 hours or so opportunity for sleep, and I did succeed at sleep, and Doug did as well. So the first night is always a little bit of a challenge, but the Dragon was a slick vehicle, and we had good airflow, and so we had a excellent evening, and just excited to be back in low Earth orbit again.
Houston participated. That concludes our coverage of the SpaceX Demo 2 mission in conjunction with NASA. On behalf of all the teams that participated in this mission, from Hawthorne to Houston to Mission Control to the Kennedy Space Center, this is Mission Control Houston.